Welcome to this tutorial on shadows in ProShow. In general, shadows add contrast to a layer, making it easier to view and help focus upon. Shadows are a great way to add depth to a layer. By adjusting the opacity, blur, and the distance from its associated layer, the shadow can simulate distance from the background. So let's get started with Gold. In ProShow Gold, to get to the shadow feature, you would open Slide Options, navigate to the Adjustments tab, and you'll locate the shadow tool under the editing tools. Its default is a 50% opacity shadow, and its default color is black. But you can change that color to anything that ProShow provides you. And that's it for shadows in Gold. Now if we go over to Producer, you'll find the shadow function in exactly the same location as in Gold, and the only difference that Producer provides that Gold doesn't is the ability to change the opacity of that shadow. And that pretty much concludes creating shadows in Producer using and Gold by choosing the shadow function. You might be tempted to think that that's all there is to shadows within ProShow. But the shadow feature within ProShow is so woefully inadequate that it begs the question that there's got to be something else you can do. And if for some odd reason you need to mask that layer that has the ProShow Shadow on it, that shadow is masked away. It becomes ineffective or hidden unless the layer is sized smaller than the mask enough to show that shadow. So that leads us to the conclusion that you have to create your own graphic or your own shadow layer. Now you might think that you can create your own shadow with a graphic program such as PhotoPaint or Photoshop or GIMP or something like that. But something in the way that the program handles transparency precludes you from using those graphics as a shadow without some manipulation. Since Gold doesn't have any manipulation capabilities, a graphical shadow is pretty much out of the picture. But you can create a shadow within Producer or import a graphic to use as a shadow and manipulate it. In this particular case, I have a shadow which has the same aspect as the mask. And I can change its position. I can change the amount of feathering or blur that it has and the opacity. And I can give it the impression that the layer that's causing the shadow is further away from the background. I can make it a small shadow. Change its opacity. And give it the impression that the layer causing the shadow is a lot closer to the background. If I didn't have the mask, I can create a copy of the actual image layer. Remove the shadow here. Let's offset it a little bit. And all I need to do is offset it like I just did. Change its blur. Change its opacity. And change its color. I can go make it all black if I change the white point to -100. I can make it white if I change it to +100. You change the black point to +100. I can change it to any color I want by changing the contrast to -100, making it gray, and then applying colorize. After which I can just change it to any color that I want. And like I did with the gradient or even a solid color layer generated from within ProShow, I can change the opacity and the blur and the position and make it look like there's a lot of distance between the layer doing the shadow, or that's causing the shadow, and the background, which is implied to be the shadow itself. And that concludes this tutorial on shadows in ProShow. Thank you for watching, and come back for more tutorials in the future. Have a good day.